One thing I am certain of is that everyone in this world has a story to tell. See, in our tale where we come from, what we've gone through in life, the things that we've encountered, and those things in our story are what make us who we are. You observed one thing that I discovered to be true. There will be some horrors, some nasty periods, and some horrible things in that narrative. But a lot of individuals enjoy talking about it. Many people avoid discussing the pain, the failures, the blunders, the difficulties. Those times when we almost gave up. The despair, the anxiety, and the delusional thoughts. We prefer not to discuss it. But the truth is, if I hadn't endured some of the things I did in my life, I wouldn't have become the person I was becoming. So I understand that a lot of people are seeking their purpose in life, what they're supposed to accomplish. And so perhaps the tale I'm going to share with you will assist you along the road and help you move on in your journey. One thing about me is that I've accomplished a lot of things, like being a UFC fighter, a coach, an author, an entrepreneur. I'm simply having fun on the path, and that's the beginning of it. But I will say that the most difficult aspect of my life was transitioning from combatant to business. And the reason it was so tough was that for the first time in my life, I was truly confused as to what I needed to do because so many people were tugging at me and reminding me what was right and wrong. I was unsure of what to do, so I had to go inwardly and recall who I was and what I stood for. And once I have done that, everything became apparent again. People absorb a lot of information. We absorb habits and attitudes, as well as how we process information. We are a people who cross-pollinate in terms of behavior. As I constantly tell my kids, there are several occasions. Show me your friends and I'll have a pretty good idea of who you are. And since you tend to become a symphony of the people you spend the most time with, just telling me about yourself is nice and all. But showing me your friends is the best way to really get to know who you are. Many times, the issue is for us since, as students or young people, we are often surrounded by parents and organizations of care that we did not request and cannot escape. Some of us, men, have a tough time being around family and friends who aren't necessarily dealing correctly with their emotions, traumas, attitudes, and behaviors because they aren't properly dealing with and processing these things themselves. My father didn't intend to educate me on how to deal with pain and misfortune. I learned to cope with pressure in the same way that Dad did. So I went from being this child who had it all, with 2 parents and a wonderful house, where everything went my way for the most part of my life. That's how my entire life changed. And I'm now homeless. I remember seeing my mother sleep on people's sofas, and I was sleeping on people's floors. And we had to steal simply to feed. I recall that. And I had to find a method to deal with the anguish of what I was going through in my life, or I'd go insane. So it came to a point when I simply began writing. I simply started writing about the many things that I was going through in my life, the various difficulties that I was dealing with in my life. And I came upon something so wonderful. I discovered my calling. I discovered why I was sent here and what I intended to perform. So I started thinking about in terms of how much I enjoy the question, why do you do what you do? Because understanding why you do what you do, knowing your purpose and reason for doing anything, is more significant to me than what you do any day. So when people used to ask me, Z, why do you serve your community? What motivates you to write? Why do you do all of these things, man? Man, you don't even grasp how much bigger there is than me, I said. The most critical aspect of discovering your mission is to actively pursue it. Go after you want to go after, because you learn a lot along the road. You'll discover stuff you didn't know you needed to know. But because as long as you're determined to get what you want, you'll put in the extra work. And when you put forth that additional effort, you are living with intention. You have meaning when you live intentionally. So, ask yourself, what do you desire? What do you wish to pursue? And after you've determined it, go for it. Have a good time along the road. If this is your first time, I wish you the best of luck on your adventure and quest. You're going to have a great time, I promise. Go pursue your desires. There will be a lot of noise telling you that you should do this or that. Do anything you want and go all in and all out. Remember that you have greatness inside you. But I was referring to the social and emotional mask, the phony face, the artificial grin. It's running through the motions and everything appears to be fine on the surface. But when no one is present, you shout but remain mute. You're struggling but remaining silent because I began to recognize this. I began to do things as my father and mother did, such as not talking about it, not letting anybody in, isolating ourselves, and keep everyone at arm's length. And I believe that in today's society, because we're more networked and we're always trying to discover ourselves, even if we're consciously competing and comparing, many of us find ourselves wanting to fit in with groups, crowds, and cliques to people. And so, because I worried so much about what other people thought of me, and because I was witnessing how mom and dad handled hardship, I picked up on one of their habits as well. That phony face, that fake grin. For the simple reason that when I was in the eye of the storm and experiencing all those things, I realized that not only were the things I was writing about and the things I was speaking about helping me through my hard times, but I was also helping so many other people that was going through the same things. I was narrating my narrative. To add, when I'm asked, why do you serve your community? I always have a good answer. What motivates you to give back? What makes you do such things? Man, because every time I serve someone a warm dinner, I recall when I was in the same scenario. I recall wanting that someone would have something for me to eat. Someone would care enough to look after me the way I strive to look after others. And I told myself that I would never return to that place, and that I would never feel helpless enough to be unable to help others in the manner that I want to. That is the reason I do what I do. Now that the video is over, what do you guys think? Will you start your journey today? Comment down your answers below. Don't forget to like this video, and since you're already here, you might as well subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on great new videos. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the following video.